Um, I'm going to talk about the Ecotime Timekeeping overview. For those of you that don't know me, my name is George Gomez. I'm from the payroll office. I'm the campus SME lead on this project for the campus. With me as part of the panelists, I have Lynn Underwood from ITS, Christopher Bryan from ITS as well, Eliud Escobedo from RMP. And we're going to talk about Ecotime, which is our new solution as a system that we're going to be implementing campus-wide. Can everyone hopefully hear me okay? And hopefully you can view my screen.
So George, I'm hearing from the audience that yes, they can hear you okay. I just want to send one reminder to the audience. There's a functionality on Zoom here for this webinar called Q&A. It's easiest for the panel to be able to address your questions if you use that function, the Q&A section, to enter your questions. It's also nice because those of us in the audience supporting George can try to plug in the answers, and then other people would be able to see it other than scrolling through chat. So thanks, George, for letting me share that.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so I'm going to continue then. As part of the solution for UCPath, probably you guys got our email from the CFO, Pierre and Lori, last month regarding they chose Ecotime as a solution for our timekeeping project, for our timekeeping system for the UCPath project. And I also sent an email earlier this month regarding that message. I just want to point out this presentation is not training. Training will follow in the coming weeks and months. This is just a presentation in addition to the information that was on those emails. This is going to be our agenda for today. I'm going to talk about the Ecotime project, the timekeeper role and changes. And at the end, I'm going to have a timekeeper demo, and I'm going to talk about the training that we project having, again, in the coming weeks and months. So let's talk about Ecotime. What does Ecotime system do? So HPS is again, it's a system as a solution that is currently being used at the medical center and also has been incorporated into the School of Medicine. School of Medicine is already fully integrated, and the medical center currently uses an old version of Ecotime, of HPS, called TP Suite. And what we are going to try to accomplish using this system is create and review timesheets. Also, it calculates hours and hours types, and it sends the information for the processing. It integrates with PPS, and it's going to help us integrate with UCPath in the future. Why are we changing? We want to consolidate our number of timekeeping systems that we currently have. We have about 5 or 6 timekeeping systems being used across campus. Managing all of them is a challenge. Also, having them submit the 181, the file that is going to go for UCPath for processing, is also going to become a challenge. So we contracted with HPS to help us in this solution. We hope to reduce administration by transitioning current and future users to the same product. That way we have one solution and we can manage it better. It also automates complex pay rules and policies, which will help us reduce manual calculations and hopefully improve our accuracy. Our timekeeping scope. So who's going to be part of our timekeeping scope? So we are going to have 2 instances in HPS Ecotime. We're going to have a campus instance and a med center instance. They're going to be separate from each other. Overall, we're probably going to have about over 25,000 employees being affected by this. And as you can see on my screen, for campus, we have RMP, which they currently use a time suite, which is an older version of HVS. We hopefully will get temporary employment TOPS incorporated into this solution as well. Like I said before, health HR, health sciences is already part of this solution. And we're going to incorporate all of our users in My Time and in Paper into this solution. Again, on the right side, you can see My Time chart, UC Health, temporary employment. And the people that are not going to be part of this solution is going to be those using Kronos and the UC San Diego Police Department. They're going to be using a different solution called Telestaff. So they're not going to be part of this group. My team that I shared in this project is Kima Yu from TS, Eliud Escobedo from RMP, Rebecca Urshik, and I'm sorry if I pronounced her name correctly, from BTOP, Chris Bryan, who's also right now part of our panelists, Jen Grau, solution architect from ITS, Rosemary Mirano Del Mar from BTOP, and of course we have Lean Underwood from the ESR project, helping on this endeavor. I want to also talk about our sponsors. So Pierre and Lori are our CFOs, and they are our project sponsors on this. We also are right now incorporating our escalation team, and you can see there the people that are going to be part of the escalation team. And the escalation team, they're going to bring all the issues that are come about in this solution, and we're going to address and come to a common ground on how we're going to address those issues. So we have members from BTOP, we have Jim Ryan from Health Sciences, Gary Nitoli from the Medical Center, Han Ho from ARC, Terry Wembush from Employee Relations, Kima Yu from Temporary Employment, Kelly Mayhew from Academic Personnel, and Otis from Labor Relations, Don Rollins from the Health Sciences Human Resources Division, Brian Demule from ITS, and Jennifer Grau from ITS. Project governors, so these are the teams that are going to decide. Once the escalation team finds a solution, they'll decide whether we move forward or we need to find a different solution. And our project roadmap. So this is how we have a timeline to go forward. We are currently doing a lot of testing with UCPath. So since May, we've been doing testing with the rules on UCPath, and we've been testing the system. Health Sciences and Medical Center, like I said before, Health Sciences is fully implemented now into Ecotime. Medical Center, right now they're getting to that point. They expect to go live in December 2nd. For us, we're starting our communication, and this is part of that communication, and we will have more training follow-up. And our campus implementation rollout will be at the end of January throughout March. And we will have, like we did with My Time, we will have a soft rollout. We will bring in some VCs first, and then we will follow with more departments. That way we can manage it better on our end. Our project implementation by the numbers. So again, we expect to have about 25,000 employees once we go live with this system. And you can see the numbers there from Health Sciences, the Medical Center, and campus. The biggest change on this new system gonna be our timekeeping roles. And here are some of the changes that we will see in the Ecotime. We will be able to track family medical leave, like vacation, sick, Right now, we do all this tracking off the side in spreadsheets. With Ecotime, we will have the ability to track the hours, which will bring us improvements in these regards. We also are going to minimize the human calculations. Right now, in my time and in paper in TART, we do a lot of manual calculations. My time has no bargaining union rules, so a lot of the time we have to do implement them manually. So again, they will help us with consistency and less human error. We also want to drive standardized approvals. So with this system, we are able to gather the role relationship that is coming from UC path, the reports to position in UC path. As supervisors, can they be able to delegate the authority like we currently do in my time, but supervisors will be able to do that to either their supervisor, their peers, their direct reports, or assigned timekeeper if needed. And these two last bullets are the biggest changes. The timekeeper role will be more efficient. There will be less required clicks. We will not have an accept button. Timekeepers will become reviewers unless delegated to approve. And our non-exempt employees will switch from exception reporting to positive reporting. So this is going to be probably the biggest change management for our non-exempt employees. They will have to document hours work or exceptions to a standard schedule to get paid. Our timekeeper role. Timekeepers will help troubleshoot and train department users. They will have maintain employee-supervisor relationships via my time. So currently, while we switch to UC path, we will need to continue using the roles through my time to assign supervisors until we go live with UC path. When then we will get the assignment from the roles from the position management from UC path. You will also need to update the COM election from pay to COM if that's what the employee wants. And as timekeepers, we will also help supervisors with the delegated authority similar to a backup approver. And you will, part of your role will be also to review validation and status reports and follow up accordingly. So as you can see there, timekeeper role will be more of a reviewer for the department, making sure things flow correctly, helping your employees and supervisors with any issues, and escalating those issues to the different areas, central areas, either be health HR, med center, or campus here in payroll. We will have more demos coming up and more training in the coming weeks. We are planning to have a demo coming up for December 5th. And so look for an invitation. We will probably send the invitation via the same way we did this webinar, via the listserv. So if you have members of your team that need to be signed up for that listserv, please follow the instructions in Blink. There's a PPS and timekeeping listserv that you can self-register for it. So December 5th, we will have more in-depth going into the application and showing you the different areas of the application, how the information will flow from the employee to the supervisor to the timekeeper, and then ultimately what payroll is going to do to create that 181, which is going to be the file that will need to go to UC path to record all these transactions. Part of our training that we foresee coming will be quick start guides for employees, supervisors, and timekeepers. We are currently developing all those materials, and we will have them available to you for review. We will, of course, have recorded system demonstrations to employees, supervisors, and timekeeper. We will have webinars with system walkthroughs. We're also planning some in-person training sessions and also demonstrations, just like we did with My Time when we rolled it out. We will have roadshows to inform you better. So this is what the system looks like. So this is a snapshot of what the system looks like. And this timesheet is for a bi-weekly employee. The information gets broken down in 3 different sections. You have the summary section here on the top, and this is where the information gets summarized. And the information gets key entered in the middle part. This is where the employees will type in their hours worked. This is where they will have time in, time out, their meal breaks, their title code, and the type of hours. And at the bottom, you will have when the employees will report any exceptions from their schedule. On this upper hand section over here, you will have, this is where you will have the save and the complete. The complete will be similar to what we currently do with submit. You can see right here for this period, for this date right here, for 10/10, the employee put 8 hours, and so they get summarized right here. And in here, this is where you will see the hours getting auto-calculated by the system, whether the employee will get overtime premium or shift differential. Based on the clock in and clock out, that's what's gonna determine whether the employee gets shift differential or not, and also based on the title code. So all that information gets fed into HVS Ecotime, and Ecotime is able to process that information and give us the correct pay codes and information about the employee. For our monthly exception employees, they don't have to report hours worked. So for them, the timesheet is similar to what we currently have, just report exceptions. So you have your calendar on the left, and as you select the dates, you can do multiple entries. You can just enter the duration of the hours that you're taking out. And the same, you have the click save and complete over here on the right upper corner that you will be able to key enter information. So again, these are the 2 time cards, the biweekly timesheet and the monthly timesheet. And again, we will have more training coming up, more webinars that we will go in more in depth into this, and we will follow out again with information about this. So these are contact information in case you need to reach us. For General Campus, you have there the email, and when you send an email to that comes to me and to different members of the team, and we'll be able to help you out and address some of your questions. For more specific to employees in health sciences, you have the information there for health sciences and also for the medical center as well.
Hi, George. This is Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
We've answered a number of questions in the Q&A section, but there's a number that are open.
Okay.
And Chris, if others want to jump in here as well and ask, do this. But the next question that needs to be answered is, will our sub 1 non-exempt employees now have to change to sub 2 in PPS because of the positive time reporting?
The answer to that question is yes, they will have to switch to a sub 2 positive pay. Now, within Ecotime, we have the ability to assign work schedules. So as a supervisor and timekeeper, you are able to do schedules and pre-populate the schedules. However, just be mindful that if you pre-populate a work schedule, if it doesn't get approved or the employee doesn't complete it, we will take the hours and pay the employee those hours. So we have a solution that will simulate what we currently have in sub 1, But again, you have to be mindful that you will have to, employees will have to complete in order to state that they have completed it, that they will work those hours. Otherwise, we will pay them. Another question?
Yeah, the next question is, and I think it ties in nicely to the last answer, is will this work with night shift EEs?
Yes. So that's why that's one of the reasons why we need the time in and time out. That's the only way we can capture the different time zones to give the employees the correct shift differential rates. And those shift differential rates will be brought in from the title code table, those ancillary rates that we have there. That's how Ecotime is going to bring them over and pass the information accordingly to UCPath. Any other question?
Yeah, the next question is, if they do not have any exceptions to claim, is there a button for them to push like my time?
That's a very good question. For those people that are non-exempt employees,
I believe
well,
that's
I will have to follow up with I will have to follow up with this. Okay. But that's a very good question. I will have to follow up on this. We haven't tried that out, but if they have no hours to report, then there's nothing to report. Again, because employees are now going to be positive pay reporting, and for those people that are exception reporting, the monthly employees, they will continue to get automatically paid from PeopleSoft or from PPS until we switch. But then again, I understand some people might have, is there a requirement to submit a timesheet? I will have to follow up on that question.
Great, thank you. I noted that.
So Lynn, I didn't want to interrupt, but here goes. One of our
this is Chris Bryan from
Yes, this is Chris Bryan, one of the project managers on this project. I see that one of our colleagues, Jim Ryan, just raised his hand, so he might have something to say on this topic. So I'm going to allow Jim to speak. Jim, can you hear us and can you speak? Did you want to raise your hand?
But what was his question, or what was? Do you have a?
I think following up on that question about the submit for the exception, I was thinking.
Oh, okay, yes.
Jim might be addressing that. For those that don't know Jim, apparently we can't hear his audio. Jim has been leading the health science implementation of Ecotime and is fully implemented now. And so is he and his team, and close to, what, 4,000 employees are using the system right now.
I've promoted Jim to a panelist, so if there was any technical difficulty before, hopefully that will help.
Okay, well, while we come back with Jim, can you have another question?
Yes, I'd actually like to note, I know, George, you mentioned that the Timekeeper system demo is scheduled for December 5th. A colleague, Rashmi, thank you, noted that December 4th is a UCPath boot camp, unless there's another one on the 5th. So it's a good point to raise, to make sure we're looking across the OCM, the calendar for ESR when we're scheduling these things. So I'll take that to take a look on behalf of the team. Thank you, Rashmi.
Thank you, yes. And
then the next question is, so will our ledgers reflect sub-2 expenditures?
From the meantime right now, while we go to UCPath, yes. Once we go to UCPath, it's going to be a different environment, a different room.
Okay. Let's see, the next question is, does the scheduling option include non-traditional schedules like 9/80, 410 for both non-exempt and exempt?
The answer to that is yes. You can create a schedules. We will have, we will try to build some standard schedules that can be used by the majority of the employees. But yes, you can build your own work schedules according to your needs for the department.
Okay, and the next question is, how does this work for student employees with multiple appointments and distributions? And if some parts of campus are on Chronos?
Another excellent question. We will have to address that in the future. Currently, we're working on a solution for that.
And I'm going to add that the requirements to address this specific question from Chronos and how to reconcile what's described here, the appointments and distributions, it's again been captured, and there's some work being done on what would replace TAR or how would TAR equivalent take place in these kind of three. It's not only Chronos and Ecotime, and we also have the police department. So it'll have to be reconciled across all systems.
And again, there was Eliot Escobedo from RMP. Any other questions?
Yeah, there's a number. Let me, this one's a partial one. Let me see. Does the department need to make the change to sub 2 before Ecotime deployment next year?
We are planning on doing that centrally. So that change will most likely happen centrally by payroll.
Okay.
For the school of medicine, health sciences, they did it manually, but for campus, we will do it centrally from our end.
Great. Let's see this. It says, how do you handle timesheets when there are no vacation/sick hours?
That's the same earlier question where we have there's no exceptions to report.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes. And I believe Jim is, he's already experiencing that, but I guess he's muted right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So we will come back to you and let you know the answer for that.
Let's see. If you don't enter in your meal break, how does it affect pay? For example, student workers.
So if an employee, for example, the example that I have there on my screen, this employee working 8 to 4:30, if they don't put the meal break, then they'll get 8.5 hours of hours work. So as a timekeeper, you'll get a dashboard with all the hours that your employees are submitted. And as part of your job will be to review that. And the supervisor will also hopefully be reviewing that as part of their job and also address it and call the employee, or in this instance, supervisors can make edits to employees' timesheets to correct them.
Thanks, George. The next question is there a way to split fund hours?
So in this particular system, all we are doing is just a time and attendance. We're just recording hours. The split will happen according, before we go to UCPath, it will happen according to the percentages in PPS or the distributions. Once we go to UCPath, it's going to be addressed differently.
Okay.
But in this system, there's no view of funding sources.
Okay. Thank you. No view of funding sources. Sorry, I was writing the answer. Is there a way to record retroactively if you've missed entering exceptions?
Yes, we will have that to record retroactively. We want to accomplish that, of course. We will have further training on that part, yes.
An example, sorry, somebody wrote an example is Christmas holiday. This is the only time when someone can have negative hours.
Correct. And I believe we will continue that practice. So in Ecotime, we are also bringing in the balances for the employee, the leave balances. So if the employee doesn't have leave balances, we will allow for the period of time for employees to go negative.
Okay.
Just like we do currently in my time. So Ecotime will prevent employees from taking more hours than they currently have. It will put them as unpaid, and then timekeeper or supervisor will have to address them with the employee to make sure they get corrected before they're being passed into UCPath or PPS. But for the period of curtailment, we will allow this to happen.
Great. Another question is, what about multiple index numbers for those who are project-based and paid off of multiple indexes that do not match PPS?
Again, this because we're not seeing any funding sources in this. We're only passing hours. Hours will be spread out according to the percentages of the distributions in PPS.
And just really quickly, folks, some of these questions here, to move through them, are answered briefly online. But after this presentation, the team will connect and review the questions and answers. And there is a FAQ section on the project website, on the contact section of the presentation that will be shared with attendees. George, the next question I see is, will the system allow us to call a phone extension to clock in and out, or do we have to use the system each time and each day to report time as non-exempt sub to employee?
So currently for us here in campus, we don't have that phone system. Only the medical center is using it. We know the system has a web clock feature that we can use. However, that has not been addressed, if that's going to be available when we go live or into future, but we're not going to be using the phone system.
Okay, thank you. Let me go back. And if you can put your questions in the Q&A, that will help us, because that's what we're looking at right now, not the chat. Does the system handle the pre-approval process for leave requests?
Yes, it does. So Ecotime has a feature where employees can request time off, and that time off will be passed to the supervisor, and in the supervisor's queue, the supervisor will be able to approve it or deny it. Once it gets approved, then it will be displayed in the employee's timesheet, and the employee will have to validate it or change it if that's the case. But yes, he has a leave request process.
Great. Let's see another one. If a staff member is on leave, will the timekeeper be able to report time as needed?
Yes, if they are given delegated authority, yes, they will be able to.
Okay, so we've got that one. How do we process in Ecotime the BYA payments that is currently processed through TAR until we are fully transitioned to UCPath? Do we process BYAs through PPS?
Yes, we do process BYAs through PPS, and we will still process them through TAR. So TAR will be available for us up to the point when we go live to UCPath. So Ecotime will be mainly a time and attendance system, just capturing hours. Just like we do for my time, we don't have any BYA payments through my time. It's gonna be the same.
Great.
So BYAs will still need to continue being done through TAR.
Yeah.
For the time being.
I see.
Once we go to UCPath, then we will have another file that will go to UCPath. Go ahead, Lynn. Sorry.
Jim also responded in the chat. There must be a voice. We're not able to get him on voice, but he said, as George did, BYAs are still processed through TAR. I think this one kind of relates in a way in the sense that it's still mentioning TAR. How does this apply to contract by agreement employees? Will that still be a manual entry in TAR?
What question? Well, contract by agreement employees?
Contract by agreement employees.
Yeah, by agreement. Yeah, by agreements will still need to be done through TAR in the meantime. I'm talking about BYAs, similar payment, RCR, those payments that are BYA type of payments.
Great. Here's two questions I'm going to kind of tie together that have to do with late timesheets. Can George discuss what happens when employees forget to submit the timesheet before the deadline? Can employees submit late entries? And they're inquiring about both exempt and non-exempt employees, and then also trying to address it, if you will, for sub 2 non-exempt employees. If they forget to submit a timesheet, what happens? So late submissions for everybody.
So again, timekeeping and payroll are very deadline driven. We need to have deadlines in order to manage our workload. So those deadlines will continue. They will probably be modified. And so if an employee is late, we will have to reopen it or do something about it, do a special check request or pay him on the next cycle. That is something that we still talking about and coming out to details on how we're gonna address that issue. But I know Jim probably can speak more about this because he's already experiencing that. But the most importantly here is getting your employees into the habit of submitting time cards in time. So I always say about that, I always emphasize that part. We have to get our employees to be responsible and submit the time on time. Once we go to UCPath, we will not be printing checks from the payroll office. All payments will come from your UCPath center, and it will take longer to do a special check. So just want to address that and keep it in everyone's mind that, this is the opportunity to get our employees into the habit of doing it by the deadline.
So George, this is Chris. I just kind of want to add to that question. Specifically, someone asked about what if an hourly employee does not submit their time? What happens?
Well, if they don't submit the time and it's passed, the deadline gets passed, then of course they don't get paid. But the supervisors and the timekeepers, they can go into the system and time in the hours for them. So we will keep the same deadlines. We will have employee deadlines. We will have timekeeper deadlines. And then we will have the overall UC San Diego deadline that we have to have everything ready for UCOP or for UCPath. So in the meantime, while we go to UCPath, we will still keep the same processes that we currently have. Meaning you can still go into TAR, you can still submit a special check request to have the employee paid, or you can do it on the next cycle. Those will be the options.
Great, and I think this actually answers a couple of questions here that are asking, can supervisors edit after the employee deadline? And I believe you just answered yes. Is that correct, George?
Yes.
Great. And also remember some of these, not only is this being recorded, but we are again going to go back and make sure we have FAQs filled out for a number of these questions. Let me see. Recording hours, can you call in or is this only done online? So that's that call question. It would only be online, right, George?
Yes, it would only be online, yes. We're not going to have the same process the medical center uses. The medical center uses a phone system. And it's a very complicated system that needs to be built in, which we're not going to be doing it on campus.
Thank you. Here's a question. Can employees, e.g. student employees, have 2 different timekeepers when appointed by 2 different departments?
Excellent question.
Mm.
We are working on towards that functionality, and that's probably the biggest hurdle we currently have. But at this point right now, we are addressing that, so we will have more information to that. Now, in this system, timekeepers are assigned to supervisors. So the concept of the timekeeper code, that will change. So because we have that position management to UC path, timekeepers will be assigned to supervisors, which in turn will be assigned to the different employees within those supervisors. And that information will come from that report still from UC path in the future. But in the meantime, we will continue to do the timekeeper codes.
Thank you, George. Here's a question about the implementation. Has the order of the rollout to VCs been decided? And if so, what is the order?
Oh, talking about the rollout from for campus, that we're still working on doing that part. We're still working on selecting which VCs are going to come first and which ones are going to come later on different waves. So we're planning on having 2 or 3 waves. And those the team and I are still working on deciding those, and we will share that information once we have it available.
Great, thank you. Here's a question, and stop me if I need to break it into parts. It's a good one. How does it work if we have cases where we have multiple distributions paid on different indexes? And currently the timekeeper has to manually spread the hours based on where it should be charged. Or when an employee's OT is supposed to be paid on a certain index right now, we set up 2 distributions and the timekeeper manually applies the OT to the index in TAR.
Excellent question. So again, currently the system is being designed to spread the hours according to the different distributions of VPS. That's how we are doing it. We haven't. We will need to have further discussion on those situations, and we will have to come back and give you more information in regards to that.
Great.
Again, because our campus instance is an instance that is being shared by the School of Medicine. It will have to go into we will have to bring it up to our escalation team for review and decision making as to what we want to do.
That's great, George.
But excellent question. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Rashmi. Someone noted, and this is a partial sentence, and apologies because folks, there's a lot of questions and they don't come in the order.
I'm sure there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, and they're coming in a mixed order. So this might be a partial question, but I want to share it. They don't cover the 0.00 hours with quote no pay to account for the missing hours. Does that make sense on its own?
No, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, let me try this again. They don't cover the 0.00 hours with no pay to account for the missing hours. Whoever sent that, if you could resend.
Yeah, they can elaborate. Yeah, I mean, to me, it's 0.0. That's like nothing. Report nothing.
Yeah,
you're reporting nothing. So for sub 2 employees, if you have nothing to report, then there's nothing to. You just don't fill anything.
Right.
So you only, as a non-exempt employee, you only report hours worked or exceptions, like vacation, sick, jury duty, those type of things.
Okay, here's a good question, George. Will there be a new business process in place for the assignment of new timekeeper roles being added into your department? And how is it initiated by department HR contact? Currently, manual paper process for campus that requires wet signatures and then updated by payroll. So
excellent question. Yes, and I've been working with ITS to get a solution that is an online solution. So that's something that we probably will be looking into. That's an excellent question. Thank you.
Okay, here's one. What issues did HS, so Jim's area, encounter when Ecotime was rolled out? And I know Jim's on the chat.
Yeah, well, from what I see on my end, from the payroll end, the biggest one is having employees submit their hours on time. That is the biggest one. Having employees do the hours on time. I spoken with Jim, and his employees are they're having a positive transition into positive pay, but you always have a few that don't remember to submit the timesheet, and that's because that's upon themselves. So again, that's the biggest hurdle that I see. Maybe employees are not accustomed to submitting time, recording the hours work, and just getting into that habit of doing it.
Here's a question. How will the system act when employees have multiple appointments in various departments across campus, since there will no longer be home departments in UC Path?
Can you repeat the question again? How?
Sure. They want to know how the Ecotime is going to behave when employees have multiple appointments in various departments across campus.
So the information, yeah, okay, I see. So the information that is going to be passed from PeopleSoft to us is going to come via the position management of UCPath. So each position is going to be assigned to a supervisor, and each supervisor is going to be assigned to a timekeeper. So that's how the information will flow through us. And that information will come to us nightly from PeopleSoft.
Thank you, George. Let me address one of these. What happens if a non-exempt, whether biweekly or month, forgets to submit a timesheet? Will they still be paid during the next pay period as they are in my time? So this is non-exempt.
Non-exempt positive pay or non-exempt exception reporting?
They say non-exempt, whether be
positive,
biweekly or month.
So again, non-exempt employees will become a positive pay. That means they have to report hours in order to get paid.
Yep.
Exempt employees, by default, they're going to be exception reporting. So they automatically going to be paid. Now, there's a few employees that are exempt that are going to be positive pay, and those are mainly our readers, tutors. Those will need to submit hours in order to get paid. I don't know if I'd address the question.
I think it does, because it was asking about non-exempt. Will the
And again, we'll look into the questions more in detail and give you further answers to them once we review them and talk among our group and bring them up. And so if I'm not addressing your question correctly at this moment, we will review them again. Go ahead, Clint, sorry.
No, that's great, George. You're doing a great job. I appreciate it. This is a question that's about, it says, can Ecotime allow departments to assign a supervisor to a non-UCSD career employee? Is this allowed? And if not, can Ecotime allow printing of papers timesheets like my MTE?
So, meaning assigning the approval to an affiliate, is that what they're talking about?
Yeah.
So so that will be an affiliate. We haven't talked about how we're gonna address, if we're gonna allow that. So currently, I know we don't allow it in my time. So I know this is being used a lot by Career Center, the Career Center with Mary Lewis Group. I know they have employees, student employees working off campus, and a lot of those timesheets have to be approved by non-UCSD staff. So we will have to go and look into that. But at this moment, no, we will not allow that.
Okay, here's one, George.
But I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will be. We will talk about how to print out timesheets from the system if there's a need for that.
Great, thank you. Will Ecotime automatically calculate and pay holiday pay for all sub-2, including student employees?
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Great, thank you. Let me see. Will Ecotime be able to recognize an employee working in different positions that use a different index for each position in the same department?
Again, the distribution of hours will be done according to the information that is within PPS. So depending on what information we currently have in the PPS distributions, that's how the system is going to spread the hours across.
Great. I know you answered this, but it's probably, it's always one of those things people need to hear reiterated. I like the simpleness of this question. Will employees have to clock in and clock out?
Non-exempt employees, the answer to that is yes. And the reason we need the clock in, clock out is in order to be able to capture the different time zones in case the employee gets shift differential. That's the only way we're going to be able to capture that information. Instead of having the timekeeper tell us these hours are shift differentials. Again, we want to maximize the features the application can give us to avoid having errors, and also to help us automate the processes and have the timekeepers be more of reviewers of the data and being part of the escalation point within the department to bring issues up the hierarchy to the payroll system or the health sciences and medical center.
Great, thank you. Will hours continue to be recorded in 1/4 hour increments?
Yes, they will continue to be that, yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Will Ecotime notify departments when a student employee's hours exceed 100%? And can all timekeepers see the hours from other departments?
So when they're talking about exceeds 100, can you repeat the question again? Exceeds 100%?
Yeah, so they want to know if Ecotime will notify departments when a student employee's hours exceeds 100%.
So by 100%, I presume it's over 40 hours in a week, or 80 hours in a bi-weekly period. The system does have edits that give information to the supervisor, to the employee, the supervisor, and the timekeeper when that is happening. And so the answer will be yes. I mean, the system will give you a message.
And I think he's referring to, or the person is referring to, or I think Tommy is referring to student employees, where there may be restrictions when there's an academic work like 20 hours per week. If there's 2 or 3 appointments, that they don't exceed that threshold across the multiple appointments.
When they don't exceed the threshold over 80 hours in a bi-weekly, or when they don't exceed the threshold of their appointment or distributions. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, for students that may have a maximum amount of hours per week.
So currently, usually
so let's
students
say that
are less than 50%. They're like 19 hours a week.
Exactly. And let's say that they work for 2 different departments, for the police department and for housing. So if they work 15 for the police department, would the housing be able to see those hours so they don't exceed that threshold across the different jobs?
So housing and dining, currently they're using Chronos. So Chronos and Ecotime, they don't talk to each other. So, but within Ecotime, we can set up rules, we can set up parameters that will give us an error message or give us a message when a particular employee is exceeding the number of hours they are allowed to put in. We do have that feature in Ecotime. Now, as far as timekeepers being able to view the information, if the employee is shared among different supervisors, then here on the drop-down, the employee will have the different title codes. And so if those title codes belong to different supervisors, then they should be able to see it.
Okay, here's a follow-up question about the clocking in and clocking out. They want to know if this needs to be done daily or on a bi-weekly basis when the timesheets due.
So they can either do it on a daily basis, they can do it on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis.
Okay.
It will be up to the employee, the supervisor, or the department to decide how they want the employees to submit the time.
All right, thank you. So a lot of these, again, we will be following up. Really great questions here today. So really quickly, clock in, clock out again question. Clock in, clock out online, or can you put the time you came into work late? Example, starting work on campus at 8 a.m. but didn't get to computer until 10:30 a.m.
Yes, you can. So here in the clock in, time in, as a user, the employee will put in, I came in at 10, and then I left at this particular, at a X time. So that will give you the duration. So if your schedule is normally from 8 to 4:30, then if you came to work from 10 to 4:30, then the system will calculate the duration, and then you can have 2 choices. You can either add the hours that you did not work as vacation or sick, depending on the situation, or just don't report at all, and then you will not get paid for those hours, of course.
Great, thank you, George. Here's a question. Will Ecotime ensure real-time updates to the laser balances? LAS?
Yes, so we are gonna bring the balances in on a monthly basis. So we will bring the balances coming forward from the laser system. As employees are accruing hours, the application is gonna use that factor and add the hours to the employee's leave balances within Ecotime, but also at the same time deduct the hours from the employee's leave balances. So the answer to that is yes. The employees will be able to see a more accurate balance within Ecotime of what they currently have. Now, the true out of the hours will be done on a monthly basis still, for the time being, before we go to UCPath. That means the hours will be fed into PPS, which in turn will be fed into the laser system. But yes, the employees will not have to wait until the end of the month.
Great, thank you.
Which is a great feature, I think, on this system.
So here's a question about rules. Will rules automatically transfer to Ecotime? If I'm a backup for several departments, will this be automatic?
So we are currently working on transferring all those roles from my time and timekeeping into Ecotime. So we want to minimize the effort and departments have to do before we go live. Once we go live, then there will be some process that we will have to set up.
Here's a question about mobile devices. Will time entry and time approvals be available through a mobile device?
Currently, at this moment, HBS doesn't have a mobile application. However, they're working on getting one. So we brought this to their attention that we currently have a mobile device, a mobile application for my time. So they understand that that's a feature that we want to see. And so they're working towards getting that, developing a mobile device application.
Great, thank you. So I'm trying to find another question. Oh, how can employees enter their time if they are in a remote location?
So I know Jim is experiencing this part, and I believe the medical center is working towards this issue. The key point here, with same as with my time, is making sure that employees change their time zone, their computer clock to a Pacific Standard Time before they go into the application to record the hours. Because as you move around different time zones, the computer automatically assigns you the time zone according to the location that you're in. So in order to bypass that, you have to manually override that and set it up to Pacific Standard Time so that the hours can get captured correctly. And that's an issue that we encountered in my time. And so that's how we addressed it. However, I know the medical center and I believe School of Medicine, they're working to find a solution on that.
Thanks, George. There's a couple of questions here back to back about non-exempt employees and vacation. So I'm going to read the first one. What happens when a non-exempt staff goes on vacation and crosses pay periods? Will the supervisor be able to submit on their behalf?
The answer to that is yes. The supervisor will be able to add hours And then those hours will be captured and we will process them from the payroll perspective, yes.
Great. And then a sort of a follow-up question or a related question is, how far in advance can a non-exempt employee submit a timesheet? I'm concerned about someone who's going away on vacation during the submittal period and will be unable to submit during their time away.
So again, the supervisor will be able to do it for them, for the employee, and also the timekeeper will be able to add hours for the employee. So if the employee is not going to be there, then the supervisor and timekeeper know that they're going to be reporting, have to report vacation, then they can do it on behalf of the employee.
Great.
And Lynn, I just saw Jim chime in and said that it looks like up to 3 pay periods are available.
Oh, great. Thank you, Jim and Chris. If an employee holds a dual appointment, non-exempt and exempt, how can we process this in Ecotimes?
So we're working on that, on finding a solution for that. I know for UC Path, that's not going to be allowed anymore. So in the meantime, while we go to UC Path, we are working towards addressing that issue. But we know for in the future for UC Path, we're not going to have mixed exempt and non-exempt employees. So again, we will have to bring that. We will have to follow up on that one.
Okay. Okay, I'm not sure if this is related to that, so I want to read it next. How will work study funding work for students? Currently, we have one line in PPS that is work study and the other that is department budget, and timekeepers have to manually add the hours into the work study line. How will this change with Ecotime?
Another great question. We have to talk about this. We haven't. I know this is the standard practice that is followed, that where departments add 2 distributions. I never understood why the 2 distributions have to be added, but if you add the work study distribution, and if there's no money on the work study, then by default, the department will be charged for those hours. So we will reach out to the departments that have work study and follow up with them on the business rules regarding this. Again, there's no distributions in Ecotime. It's only hours that we are passing through. And again, the hours get passed through according to the percentages of the distributions.
Okay, thank you, George. How will summer reader hours be reported currently on SST DOS code?
But these are by agreement codes, correct? I believe these are SST are by agreement.
They didn't put the, I'm sorry.
Those codes?
I get, that's what they wrote. They didn't put by agreement,
Yeah.
but it sounds like
so SST are by agreement. So again, those will have to be handled by INTAR. I don't think there's any hours in SST.
Great. How will the system work for calculating someone on ERIT who works OT? Right now, we have to manually convert comp plus to comp time in MTE.
If someone is in ERIT, in ERIT,
correct.
I know James has brought this up before. Now, ERIT was mainly put in place for sub-1 employees. So for sub 2 employees, if they don't have any hours to report, then they just don't get paid for those hours. Whereas with sub 1 employees, it is based on the distribution in PPS, so it generates the full pay, and then it gets reduced by the ERIT. So again, we will have to address this in the future development of the application to bring to a solution on this. I don't have an answer at this moment, so we will have to come back.
Great. I believe you said that the roles will be carried forth from other systems. Someone is asking, I believe, possibly on an ongoing basis, the going forward basis, will DSAs still be assigning supervisors?
So again, once we go to UCPath, the assignment will come from PeopleSoft. So in PeopleSoft, there's a reports to, so a position reports to another position. So whoever is holding that position, by default, becomes the supervisor of that other position. So that is how the information is going to come to Ecotime. Where we are going to be managing here is the timekeeper assignment to those positions, to those supervisor positions.
Great, thank you. How is FMLA handled in the system?
So within the system, we're only going to be capturing the hours, the FMLA hours. So there's a way to assign a FMLA administrator that can control who can report FMLA, who cannot, and all the work that happens before an FMLA gets approved will happen outside of Ecotime. So Ecotime does have that feature, but we're not using that feature. We didn't contract for that feature. So we are going to be capturing the hours through Ecotime and have a tally of how many hours that employee has been submitted for the period of time, and we'll be able to run reports for that in the future. Instead of managing them manually through spreadsheets or some other applications.
Thanks. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, but it's a different way of asking. How will student holiday pay hours be captured if multiple systems are running across campus?
Again, when you are sharing employees, it is key that timekeepers talk among themselves, sharing information, especially if you have employees in multiple systems. Now, that will be the case for people that are on Ecotime and Kronos or Telestaff. Then it will be imperative for timekeepers to talk among each other and share information so that they can edit the information either through Ecotime or Kronos. And again, the two systems don't talk to each other. And I believe Eloyd talk about this, that we are getting a solution so that we can reconcile the two systems.
I'm looking for a question.
A lot of questions, and again, we will probably address a lot of these questions once we go into the training for timekeepers, once we go and look at what the system can do for you. And I'm sure you will have more questions when we reach that point. But again, this presentation is just to give you a taste of what the system looks like, what we are trying to accomplish with this, how we're gonna move on to UCPath, which is coming next year. And again, we will have more information coming up in the coming weeks and months. So be prepared and be on the lookout for that information. Again, if you're not part of that listserv, the timekeeping listserv, please go ahead and sign up. I will post that link into our payroll page so that way it's easily available and people can find it. But that's the way we're gonna be communicating to the different timekeepers across campus.
Thanks, George. Here's another question. If EE has pending / future retirement action and will be on leave using sick / vacation accruals until separation date, can the department record leave usage on their behalf?
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
Great.
Again, the supervisor can do that, or anyone who is given the delegated authority to do that, including the timekeeper.
Here's a question about logging in. Can student employees sign in with their student AD account?
So we are working on having now with this system, I know we use the AD account. So we are working with ITS on ways our employees will be able to log in. So, but again, the student account is used for mainly a student business. It's just used for the person as a student. Now, our student employees have dual roles. They have the role of being a student and the role of being an employee. So as an employee, they will have to use their AD account that they log in, and also their business system account. So we are working with ITS on getting this ironed out so that our employees are able to log in.
Great. Put a note there. Would a faculty member who doesn't accrue sick or vacation need to take any action in Ecotime since they would be paid automatically?
No, the answer is no. Only employees that accrue, only faculty or academics that accrue leave will need to use the system.
And George, anybody that would have to approve?
Correct, yes. So you might have a few faculty who might need to log in into the system to approve. Yes, thank you, Chris.
Okay, here's a question about that assignment of timekeepers and supervisors and employees. If the timekeeper is being assigned by supervisor, what happens when supervisors supervise employees in another home department? For example, academic supervisors who supervise staff in a different department. Would the supervisor's home department be responsible for the timekeeping?
Excellent questions. Now, in this particular system, the responsibility of the time is given to the supervisor. So whoever is the supervisor for that employee, for that position, is responsible for approving the time. Timekeepers are acting as support to those supervisors. So each one of us has an assigned supervisor. And that supervisor is who directs our work and also manages our approvals in time off. You know, that's the person that will be addressing and validating the hours. I don't know if I answered the last question.
And I see Jim on the chat echoing that it's based on supervisor, home department won't matter.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, again, if a supervisor is changed, so again, because we are now using the reports to position, so if a supervisor leaves the department, a new supervisor is gonna step in and assume that role. And automatically by assuming that role, then those employees will be on their queue. The part that we're going to be managing is the timekeeper to supervisor. which we don't have timekeepers in PeopleSoft.
Here's a question about postdoc population. Will the postdoc population use this system?
They can, yes, they can use the system if they need to record hours for payment, yes. And they're part of the academic population that we have in scope. They're part of this accruing, what we call accruing academic, and also those that are positive pay.
Great, thank you, George. Does Ecotime have activity status timestamps like my time? So we know when it's been submitted by who submitted?
Yes, audit trails, yes. I believe there's gotta be a way to do audit trails, yes. And Jim can maybe share his experiences. Yes, there is, according to Jim, yes. I think there's a standard across systems, you know. You need to have an audit trail.
Here's a broader question about that assignment. Can timekeepers get delegated authority for everyone in their unit? If I'm understanding correctly, the timekeeper will need to request authority from the supervisor to take action.
That is correct, yes.
So,
and again, that will be up to the department to decide if that's what they want. I mean, that will be up to the MSO, the DBO to decide if that's what they want. Yes.
Okay.
Initially, we'll help with the delegation. We will have to address, you know, what we currently have in my time and in TAR. But in the future, we will have to manage that either centrally or in the department. And this is where we're gonna have that relationship between the central unit and the departments to help our employees get paid and escalate issues, of course.
Thank you for that. Here's a question that's saying, if I'm the FMLA administrator for several departments units, who do we notify? This role is currently not available in my time.
That will have to be done centrally here at the payroll office. So payroll, or you know, the new department, central payroll, we will be the administrators of the application. So again, going back to those two instances that we have the campus instance and the medical center instance. So any departments that are part of campus instance, then payroll is going to be the administrator of the application. So we will be setting up the different business rules, payrolls, pay codes within the system.
Okay, George, we're going to go back to postdocs again. There's a couple of questions. So, sorry, my assistant's barking. Can postdocs enter their PTO, sick leave, and parental leave in Ecotime? Someone noted that Pearl mentioned this would be possible.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay, and then similarly, someone noted postdocs do not accrue vacation time, but they are given PTO and sick.
Yes, and we do. Yes, and we have programmed the system to have PTO. Yes.
Okay, so it accommodates this. Great.
Yes.
How do we define if employee elected comp time versus OT pay?
So currently, before we go to UCPath, that's going to be done through the My Time roles environment. So whenever you log into My Time and you go into the administration module, you're being taken to the roles environment. That's where the assignments happen. So we will be talking to ITS to having that roles environment, maybe stand by itself. That way, when we deprecate my time that we no longer going to be using, we have a process that we will go into that system before we go to UCPath that we can do those assignments. But all of those assignments don't happen in my time. They happen in the roles environment, which belongs to ITS.
Great, thank you, George. It sounds like the timekeeper could be a backup to take action, but the supervisor has to be the one to assign the timekeeper. They want that clarified.
Correct.
Great. Will OT continue to be 40 hours per week, or if an employee reports more than 8 hours a day, will they get paid OT?
So overtime will be captured according to the different business rules that we have and the different collective bargaining units contracts. So that's how overtime will be calculated. So within Ecotime, we have set up business rules to capture all that information. We have captured all the different bargaining units, and the system knows what bargaining unit the employee belongs to because we pass that information over to HBS.
Okay, someone's clarified an earlier question, I think about the 0.00. Is there going to be an option like there is now to state no hours worked and submit the timesheet?
That's what I need to come back and let you know more about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Again, if you're a non-exempt employee, you're going to be positive pay, so you don't have the hours to report. Then you don't. Of course, you don't submit that timesheet, but we might have a requirement that you still need to say that. The only reason we say no exceptions in my time is because we automatically pay our employees. So by clicking no exception, we are basically saying I came to work every day on my work week. So that's what employees are doing when they're clicking no exceptions through my time. Now, because now we go into positive pay in Ecotime, if you have no hours to report, then it is understood that you did not come to work. Now, if you did not submit a timesheet because you forgot about it or something happened, then we will address those issues as they come.
Great. Here's kind of a related question. How does an employee enter their time if they are in an area without computer access?
So they have to contact their supervisor and address that issue with them. I mean, that will be, that's a great question too. And I will be inclined to say that that's probably the exception, not the norm. But yeah, I understand there's situations where that happens.
Okay, great. Will the system send automatic emails to remind employees that your timesheets are due?
We do have that feature that's available within the system that we can do. I believe Jim is using that already, Jim Ryan. Maybe you can share that information.
I find that helpful.
Yes, but again, we're all adults, and we should know that hey, if we wanna get paid, I'm sure gonna submit my time. But then again.
So George, thank you. Jim did reply, yes, they go out on Thursdays and they include the link to Ecotime. Yeah. So that's good.
Thank you, Jim.
George, I'm glad you brought up deadlines because one person had asked earlier, are the deadlines staying the same? That will still one.
So the deadlines right now they're the same. However, they will probably change. That's all I can say at this point.
Okay, great.
But we will have deadlines, definitely. Those will not go away.
Oh, Great. Can a person report sick or vacation hours after the pay period has passed?
So that will be a retroactive. That will be a retroactive adjustment. The answer will be yes.
Great.
However, it will not be processed until the next pay cycle, of course.
Well, I need to put this out there. George, can departments opt out of this new timekeeping system to continue our current practice of paper sheets and TAR entry? We need paper time sheets to split time over multiple indexes.
The answer to that, it's above my pay grade, but the answer will be probably not, because that means that you will have to create all the different I-181, all the information that is needed for PeopleSoft. And I don't know. I mean, that will be something that we will bring up, that we can bring up to the escalation team, but no. So paper timesheets are going away. So.
And again, it's one of those points in the presentation where I want to say the nice thing about using this webinar is, albeit the answers are brief right now, we've reminded the group repeatedly that the project team will sit down, look at all these questions, everything's saved. So if we've said something like we'll follow up, it might be an FAQ, or in certain cases, it might be something we might need to reach out to you if your name appeared with the question. So I just want you to know, George, you've answered 94 questions. And
wow, time flies.
So, but that's why we wanted to have a good, healthy amount of time here. And while a system demo will be provided, you can tell with this group already the importance of being able to ask these questions. We realize your colleagues aren't all on this call, so the follow-up, the FAQs, the sharing of the presentation deck as well is very important. Let's get back to these questions now. Let me see. Does an employee have to approve hours that a supervisor updates?
What, can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, they're asking if an employee has to approve hours that their supervisor updated.
No, they don't. According to Jim, no, they don't.
Okay.
They do not. So again, we hope that there's communication between the supervisor and employee as to what's going on for the time. I mean, they will have to come to an agreement to that. I mean, if the employee doesn't agree with the supervisor, but according to them, no, they don't.
Great, and thank you. And Jim noted they can see it in an audit feature if they want to review it as well. Here's a question about assignments. Since some students receive assignments late on Fridays, how will hours timesheets be handled since timekeepers will receive their timesheet on Monday?
So I don't understand the question. So if they receive assignments on Friday?
Yeah. So
timesheets will be available, like Jim said, in advance, 3 periods in advance. So I don't know I mean, I probably need to elaborate more on the question.
Yeah, this is from an anonymous attendee.
Yeah.
I think we've got, if you can expand on that, please resubmit. So here's one. If an employee, such as a student, underreported time and needs to correct a timesheet after the deadline, how will special checks be processed for underpayment be handled?
So right now, you know, we still gonna have, again, we're still gonna have TART that we can go in there and make edits or adjustments. However, if you do it through TART, it will not be synced to Ecotime. Up to the point when we go to UCPath, our payroll office will continue to process special checks. But once we go to UCPath, then payroll is not going to be doing the special checks anymore. So for those employees, you know, that's why I keep saying it is imperative that they submit the hours in time in order to avoid any delays in payment.
Sorry, I was on mute. I'm looking through some of these questions we've answered, so I'm looking through the remaining ones.
A lot of great questions, by the way.
Yeah, it's a very engaged group. This helps the project team, everyone as well. For supervisors approving time on behalf of the employee, does the employee have to give the supervisor verbal or written authorization?
So written authorization will be preferred. And again, we're gonna leave that up to the departments to decide how they wanna manage that part. Initially, we will bring the information that we currently have from my time, but then after that, we will leave it up to the departments to decide how they wanna manage that part. But you know, written will be preferred, just for audit purposes.
Okay, here's a question. When an employee is on block leave of absence, example, leave of absence of four weeks or more, can the timekeeper or backup timekeeper disable access to Ecotime so employee does not submit a timesheet, but the supervisor or timekeeper can while on leave with pay?
So when someone is on is the employee going to be on a FMLA?
That's what I guess, but
that's probably my question. If they're going to be on FMLA, then you will use the FMLA hours. So here in the drop down for the hours, you know, for the exceptions, there will be a whole section of FMLA vacation, FMLA sick, and so the supervisor or the timekeeper can enter the hours. Now, if the employee tries to enter hours, they will get an error saying you're not allowed or to that sort, that they are an FMLA. And according to Jim, if they're on a leave without pay, employees they don't have access because they're on a leave without pay.
Great. Regarding no exception, how will that work with auditing?
Again, this is one of the questions that we will have to give you more information. This is the same as the. This is again the concept of sub 1 and sub 2. Now the non-exempt employees now become positive pay. So if they don't have any hours, then they don't report anything. The only in exempt employees, by default, they're exception reporting, so they automatically get paid because they get a salary.
And
so if you're a non-exempt employee and don't report hours, then you don't get paid. You don't get nothing.
And George, Jim echoed what you said here. He's on the chat. He said there isn't a no exceptions button, no hours, no paycheck.
Correct. Yes.
Here's a question. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest change that we have in this new system, in this new going forward to UCPath, which we were, you know, back in 2013 when we implemented my time. we were told that was going to happen, but you know, it has been delayed, but now it's here. Go ahead.
Oh, sure. SIO employees are on a recharge system and have been submitting paper timesheets. Can we continue our paper system and still ask them to submit Ecotime?
I mean, where would the paper timesheets go to? So again, TAR will go away. There will be no TAR. So again, we will probably reach out to SIO, and we do have a presentation with the SIO, I believe, scheduled in the future, where we can address this with them.
There is a meeting scheduled in December.
Correct.
Let's see. It sounds like a lot of problems will be solved if the supervisor can submit for the employee after the employee deadline.
Yes, that's true. And then again, we need to have deadlines for employees, for supervisor, timekeepers, and for payroll.
You know, I think this is, this question was sort of asked, it was, so we talked about, and let me just ask it, currently employees get overmax notifications. Will that continue?
Yes, those will continue, yes.
Yay.
And those actually come from HR. They don't come from payroll.
Okay. George, you had 106 questions. I'm really appreciating you here. Thank you. Everybody also, we have about 10 more minutes left. I want to try to get through some more of these questions. If we don't get to your question that's still on the list, as there's 26 left and we will not get to everything, the team will be sitting down. We will be following up. And when we update the FAQs or whatever comes out of this, we can send to the listserv. Remember to tell others, share information, to sign up on the listserv and direct people to the website. And as George has shown on the contact sheet, ESR-time@ucsd.edu is important. Contact the project team. So let's look at some more of these questions. So I think you've said this, but this is, again, different ways of asking the question may call something a nuance out. Will non-exempt students or part-time staff need to be set up with 100% distribution going forward?
Can you repeat the question again? Non-exempt students?
Yeah, non-exempt students or part-time staff need to be set up with 100% distribution going forward.
I believe so. No, I don't think so. I mean, again, non-exempt employees will get paid according to the hours they submit. Even right now in TAR, you know, that's how we pay them. We capture the number of hours, then we multiply those hours by the rate, and that's how we pass the information to PPS.
Okay, I know you said that TAR is going away, but someone did ask, will we continue to enter RLA via TAR?
RLA, is that relocation allowances, I believe?
I believe that's what they're asking.
So those are by agreement payments. So up to the point of UC Path, we will have TAR again, and we will continue doing those by agreement type payments through TAR. Once we go to UC Path, there's another file. And maybe Chris or somebody else can chime in and say what that file is, but it's a different file that capture those payments, and then those payments get fed to PeopleSoft. So there will be multiple files. There will be a timekeeping file, which in the UC Path world is called the 181. And there's going to be another file that is going to have those by agreement type payments, like award payments, BYA, RCR.
Okay. Yeah, and I am not clearly in payroll related roles, so I can't always identify in the questions those by agreements, but like I said, I think it's good to, oh yeah, someone clarified RLA is remote location allowance.
Yes, so that's a by agreement payment, yes.
And thank you, Rose. Rose is on our project, and she clarified that the file George is referencing is the, it looks like I-618 interface.
Yeah, correct.
Let's see here. Someone is asking, I don't understand why you can't have non-exempt employees as sub 1. Is it a programming thing or the ability to record overtime?
Again, it's part of that standardization that we want to accomplish. Across the industry standard, that means outside of UCSD or UC, the standard is your non-exempt employees have to report hours in order to get paid. So that's part of what we want to accomplish in this change. We want to take advantage of the change management and come out with those standardized processes that we want to accomplish. And one of them is going to be that the non-exempt employees, we have to document hours worked. Technically, all the people that are exception is the exempt employees. Those are that are salaried. As an exempt employee, you're working different hours during the whole month, but you're getting the same pay.
And George, to tie into that, I know you answered this, but again, it's the different way of asking the question. For exempt employees with no exceptions to report, the timekeeper here wants to really make sure they understand if the employee needs to log in and hit complete for the pay period, or do they need to log in at all?
So that's a follow-up question. We will address that and give you a better, more accurate answer.
That's great. Thank you. Will all employees in our home department be transitioned into Ecotime, even if they do not currently use My Time Now?
So again, just like I said from the beginning, the different instances, you know, you're either going to be using Ecotime, Chronos, or Telestaff. I'm not aware of any other timekeeping system that are being used across campus. So if you have a timekeeping system or an internal in-house timekeeping system, you need to let us know, because we want to incorporate you into the systems.
Oh, here's an interesting question. Can catastrophic leave donations be made through Ecotime?
No.
No.
No. I mean, you will use Ecotime to report the leaves, the vacation, but we're not going to be using it for the catastrophic leave donation program. Again, Ecotime is just a time and attendance. That's all it is, just capturing the hours. And it has built-in features to capture any overtime or any business rules associated with the different bargaining units or different policy rules that we have.
So somebody asked, are holidays clearly marked on the online BW timesheets?
yes, we have incorporated all the different holidays that are university standard. We do add those every year. We as administrators, those get added every year for the whole year.
Oh, great. And also, per the catastrophic leave, Rosemary on our team clarified that catastrophic leave is done in UC Path through Manage Accrual screen, and there's a separate direct screen in UC Path to address catastrophic leave. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you, Rose.
Okay, so looking at, and I know you talked about the time change, George. Here's someone who's also talking about international students. How will hours be recorded for international students that don't have a social yet, and therefore have to be set up for an affiliate account? Will they have access to Ecotime?
So again, you don't need a social to be an employee. So you can still, so in PPS right now, you set up employees, and so if they are in PPS, then that information will come here to Ecotime. We will not be supporting, I believe we will not be supporting affiliates. So to me, an affiliate is someone who is not an employee. And so if they're not an employee, there's no need for them to report a timesheet on our system because we don't pay them.
Great, thank you. I'm looking at the time here. It's 3:52. Let me see if there's one more question for George. Let's make it even 115. So one more question for George. Will the system capture the nuances of eligibility holiday pay, such as when policy states an employee must work the day before and after a holiday, or the requirements to be on pay status during a holiday week?
That's a great question. But, we will have to come back we will need to come back and give you a better answer.
Okay, great.
But again, the system does we do pass the information about when an employee comes on board from the information that we have. So again, we have to come back and give you a better answer on that. I mean.
Great. Well, I want to hand this over to Chris, the project manager, and I do want to say thanks to everybody for being on the call. Chris, you want to say anything to the group as in closing?
I just wanted to say thank you for the engagement.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. That was very informative. Yes, thank you.
And I think we purposely said we're going to have this presentation with the timekeepers first.
Yes.
So a lot of great questions, and again, we'll be following up with demos and training material and so on. I know our trainer was online, got to hear a lot of the questions, so thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you, George, and the entire.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, thank you. I mean, this is my first webinar that I do. I've never done a webinar in the past, so. I gotta be honest. I was a little bit nervous on doing a webinar. I'm more like a in-person type of person. I like looking at people.
I know.
But this was great.
Yeah, and
thank you.
Thanks everybody. So have a good night, and Chris, I'll let you close the meeting since you recorded it. Okay.